who knocked on the door at 5 o'clock in the morning? Like,
Yeah.
what's up? And I saw the blue lights just flashing. I'm like, that's weird. I heard some whispers and I heard somebody died. And I'm just like, well, who could be that close to us that would die? So I opened the door and I walked up and I just looked at my mom on the couch and she was crying. My stepdad got his hand over his head, just shaking his head. I'm like, man, what's wrong? What's wrong? Police officer look at me and he don't say nothing. And I'm like, Mama, you okay? She was like, no. And she just crying. And I'm like, man, what's wrong? And police officer was like, son, your father has been murdered. And I just fall out, just start crying.
Bryant,
What's up?
thank you for joining me today.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to have you
I'm glad to be here.
on the show.
Yeah.
So you have actually, you got a couple of testimonies.
Yes.
A couple.
Yeah.
But today I want to focus on kind of your starting point
Okay.
with your dad.
Yeah.
So
my
tell
guy.
me a little bit about your relationship with your dad.
He was my best friend. He was just the one that I connected with. I love my mom. Love my mom. He just was the one that I could like open up a little bit more to. Felt a little bit more keen to just open up to him. So I used to go to his house all the time. And he used to make the old school popcorn, like you know how you go to the movie. It was movie popcorn, but he didn't make it. He didn't have like a movie popcorn machine. He had like a skillet,
Yeah.
and he had the popcorn in the bag with the butter and the oil mixed in it, and that's how he made it. And it was like the best popcorn ever. And we were a big movie family, so he had like a trunk full of recorded movies. So I could pull one tape, like one VHS,
Yeah.
and put it into the VCR, and I could watch 3, sometimes 4 movies on the VHS, and we just be watching like movies. He had football movies. We used to like watch the football Follies a lot. I used to watch a lot, and we used to watch a lot of football together. So that was my guy.
Yeah. So you talk about your dad in the past tense. Can you tell them why?
Because he's no longer alive. He was murdered when I was 13. I'm not an only child. I'm the one of 3. I'm actually the middle of 3 boys.
Yeah. Okay. So you were 13 when he was murdered. How did you find out? Like, what was that process?
So that Friday, we were like spending the night at my dad's house like every other week. And this particular Friday, it was his week. And we was like, Daddy, we supposed to spend the night? He was like, no, not this weekend. I got something to do. I see y'all next weekend. So we was like, all right, cool. So I can see his gold intrigue dropping us off at our house. And he stuck his head and his hand out the window. He was like, I love y'all. He was like, love you, Daddy. But, not knowing that was going to be the last time that we would see him physically, right, alive and moving. So it's crazy because my mom called us when she was at work and she said to go to Save-A-Lot. We stayed like walking distance to Save-A-Lot. So we walked to Save-A-Lot, and we was, it was the weekend, so we had finished whatever weekend homework we had, and we went to the store for her. It was probably about like 6:30, 7 o'clock. It was kind of getting dark, and I remember vividly like coming back home, and we were like running, and I was like, hold on, man, my knee kind of hurt a little bit. But at this point in time when I was young, I was like, man, something bad gonna happen, because every time my knee hurt, something bad would happen. It could be very extreme, or it can be something is like I failed the test, or the finger stepped, it could be something small. But I didn't, I just whatever, I'll deal with it, right? So we heard a knock at 5:30 in the morning. Boom, 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 like big, huge knock. I'm like, so me and my brothers at the time, we had like 2 beds. And we put them together because we were just, it was like we was like sleepover at our own house, like playing it, staying up all night. So we had just went to sleep, like we was up, and my two brothers, they were asleep, and I'm like, who knocking on the door at 5 o'clock in the morning? Like,
Yeah.
what's up? And I saw the blue lights just flashing. I'm like, that's weird. Like, my stepdaddy, like, is he a kingpin? Didn't tell us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
is my mom in something that we don't know anything about? Something like that, right?
Yeah.
No. Um, I heard some whispers, and I heard somebody died, and I'm just like, well, who could be that close to us that would die? Not thinking that it was my dad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, my stepdad's from Mississippi, so it's probably somebody that he know, right? And so I was like, hey, man, wake up. Man, somebody died. And I couldn't hear anything. That was talking real low. So I just got the courage. I was like, I'm finna go out and see what's up. So I opened the door, and I walked up, and I just looked at my mom on the couch, and she was crying. My stepdad got his hand over his head, just shaking his head. I'm like, man, what's wrong? What's wrong? Police officer look at me, and he don't say nothing. And I'm like, Mama, you okay? She was like, no. And she just crying. And I'm like, man, what's wrong? And police officer was like, son, your father has been murdered. And I just fall out, just start crying. And I was like, he taught me everything. Taught me how to play football. Taught me how to do, just saying stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then the police officer, I remember him like, Caucasian guy. He had that short crew cut. It was salt and pepper, mostly salt. Mustache, real clean cut mustache. He just had the stash right up under the nose. And he was like, son, I'm pretty sure you're really good at it too. And then that's all I remember, like, of that night. That's it.
So after that all happened, did you get to go like to his place?
Yeah, so his best friend, we call him my uncle, but they were, no blood relation, but that was his guy. Like, they hung out. Like, we just called him uncle. He came to the house the next day. I say the next day, it was the same day, it was just later on that day.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, the apartment complex that your dad live in, they said y'all gotta go get all his stuff that y'all want, or they're gonna throw it out. And they was like, they're gonna clean the apartment, so don't worry about it. Yeah, like that. So we didn't go until like that evening. So when we went, they said it was gonna be clean. It was not. It looked just like the murder scene.
So you saw everything except his body.
Yeah, everything.
What's the one thing that stood out to you the most, that you remember the most about when you walked there?
Everything. I remember everything. I can see the scene right now in my head. We opened the door. The lights were on. His Kenwood speaker was standing like maybe 3 feet in front of the door at a diagonal angle. All his stuff was it was messy. Like, everything was just everywhere. But his house was never dirty, really.
Mm-hmm.
But everything was like moved off the wall. Of course, it looked like the crime scene investigation people just went through it and, looked at everything. And so I remember looking down at the ground, because I don't even know why I looked down at the ground, but I saw blood drops. And that was it. Once I saw the blood drops, I knew there was a trail, so I followed it. It went through the living room, it went in the kitchen, came out the kitchen, went in his back room, like his bedroom. Went in the bedroom, and his room was like, bed was like broke down, like the mattress was on the floor, closet door was open, the light was on. His first aid kit, his military first aid kit, was on the bed next to a big puddle of blood. And so I thought to myself, he tried to patch himself up.
Yeah.
Then I saw the other part of the blood trail come out of his room, go into the bathroom, come out of the bathroom, and right where he sat on his couch. So his couch was kind of in the position that we're sitting in now. Mm-hmm. And he sat on the right side, well, my side. And the cushion was on the ground. I was like, that's weird. You know, never saw the cushion. I was like, so then I look at the coffee table and he had his baby blue Bible right there with like a bookmark in it, right? Um, and I was like, okay. So I pick up, I lift up the cushion. I'm thinking it's just gonna pop up, but it don't. It's right, and I'm like, what is that? It was the blood that was stuck to the floor, and so I knew instantly like that's where he died, on the couch. And so me being, his, like, to me, like, that's my guy. I was like, man, this is the closest I ever be to my dad again. And so I had some Air Max 95s on. They were, I'll never forget that. And I stuck my shoe in the blood, thinking I could take some with me. And my mom was like, hey, go take this bag outside and put it in the car. It was like the big industrial black garbage bag. And so I was like, all right. And so I walked outside and I shut the door, and then a tear dropped, like, in that instant. And I was like, man, I was like, bye, daddy. Like, that was it. And I remember walking downstairs and putting it in the car, and then I don't remember anything else.
Do you still have the shoes?
No, I played with them, and I played in them, played with them. They were gone. They're destroyed. Like,
do you have anything of his that y'all took from his house?
Yes, we have his turntable, his Kenwood speakers, and I can't find it, but I can't remember where it's at, but I had his bomber jacket that he wore when he worked at the Grand.
Okay. Did they ever figure out what happened?
Yeah, they did. So I don't know how much, I don't know how true it is, but based on what I remember, there was an argument. There was a young lady that I guess he was seeing or whatever, and we knew her. She was cool to us, and one of her friends had got out of jail recently. And so my dad had a set of rules, as anybody would that pay the bills at a place that they, are residing in. And there were some rules that were being broken. My dad kicked them both out, and then the dude came back and killed them. So they gave him 20 years based on a manslaughter charge. So if I can remember correctly, 20 years is he should either be getting out or got out.
Yeah.
Now.
So how do you feel about that?
I thought about that a couple years, when it was like 3 years ago. I started writing like a book, like writing like, if I met my father's killer, like what would I say or do? I had like this whole vision where I went to his gravesite and the dude showed up, and initially as I was writing it, I beat him down.
Okay.
I ain't gonna even lie. Like, and then like when I went back to it and I saw it again, and I just looked him in his eye and I was like, why? Do you know what you destroyed? Like, do you know what you put us through? Like, and then the third time I was just like, he was like, do you forgive me? And I was like, I don't know. And then I remember having a thought about it like a year ago, and I was like, yeah, how many times has God forgiven me?
Yeah.
And so I can't forget it, I don't want to have anything to do with you, but I guess right now I forgive you. But like, I don't know, it's like weird, because like that was in my mind. Like, when you rehearse things or you go over things in your head, it's different when it's real. Like when you see the person face to face, it's completely different.
So y'all never actually went to the trial or anything like that?
No, they didn't let us. Like, we didn't get to see I wanted to view the body, my dad's body, when we had to go and say like, this is who it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. My mom wouldn't let me do it. I didn't see my dad until he was in a casket.
Okay.
But I prayed to God, and at this part in time, which is really ironic, it was such a big moment, like, for our family, but it also was a big moment for me spiritually, because the time that I gave my life to Christ. And so I asked God that if he could, like, so after my dad passed away, that next Sunday, because we didn't have his funeral for like a week later. I went to church, and the Sunday school teacher was talking about the three types of love: eros, phileo, and agape. And eros, husband wife type of love; phileo, brotherly love, like the city of Philadelphia. This is how he described it. And then he said agape is unconditional love. Like no matter what happens to you or what you do, God will forever love you. And I was like, that was like, what? So I went home that day and I said, God, if you can show me this agape love, I will hold on to you. And like that was my salvation prayer. It wasn't, I believe you died. God, I believe what you said if you can show me this agape love. And then I had a host of prayer. Like on top of that, I had, can you show me, I need examples because I don't have a father anymore.
Yeah.
I need examples in every area of my life: athletics, spiritually, and physically. I didn't know how to change the tire. I was just getting to that age,
Yeah.
And so I also asked God, I just want one more day with him. Can I have one more day? And he gave me one more day, which was went to sleep. I was dreaming. I was playing a video game like I would normally do back then. I was a gamer back then, and he knocked on the window as he often did when we didn't hear the front door, because all three of us would be back there playing the game. And he opened the door, and I was like, "Hey, Dad!" And he went to give me a hug, and I fell on the floor in the fetal position. I was like, "Nah, you dead, you dead." And literally in the dream, he was like, "Bryant, I know." And I was like, "Oh." And I got up and I gave him a hug, and we hung out like we normally would if he was alive.
Yeah.
So I think it felt like probably like 5 or 6 o'clock, like kind of like when it started getting dark. There was this huge light that shined through the door, and I looked at him and I was like, "You got to go, huh?" He was like, "Yes, son." And I was like, "I love you." Gave him a hug, and he went through the door.
That's beautiful. You said if you met your father's killer, like when you were standing next to him, you would say, "Do you know what you destroyed?"
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a little more. Like what did he destroy? What happened because of that?
He sent my mom, well, because of that incident, my mom went into like a depression. She went into like she was grieving.
Yeah.
It took her she was grieving a lot.
Even though she was with your stepdad.
Yeah, because although they weren't together, they were friends. Like my stepdad and my dad, they hung out. They went out together, like as friends. Like they were friends. They knew each other before Melvin got with my mom.
Yeah.
So they were cool, which made it a little sweet, I guess you could say. There was no animosity or bitterness or anger that I could tell as a kid between them two. And so my mom and dad, they were cool from what I could tell. Of course, they get in arguments about certain stuff or whatever, but they were cool. So like it destroyed like the ability for his children to grow up with a father, like finish growing up with the father. It destroyed, and people say, "Oh, but you had your stepdad." Yeah, I did, but I wanted my dad too. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted both. Doesn't make it any easier because you still got one here. That doesn't make any sense. Anybody that ever says that to me, I was just like, whatever. Like, and it sent I believe it sent my older brother into like different avenue. Like my oldest brother was amazing. He could draw, he could like cut hair. He was so artistic, play instruments, all of that. And like when my dad passed away, he decided to take on the streets a little bit. Like, my little brother, he was real young when it happened. Like he knew what was going on, but he didn't know. So he grew up the longest without, our dad. And he in a sense had to figure it out. He had to figure it out, like, the ability to share my first varsity high school game with my dad, because my dad came to all my elementary games. He started coming to my middle school games, and I was so excited to get to high school because that's when it get big. The ability for him to share my first college football game experience. Do you know, he doesn't know, he will never know how many times I thought I heard my dad in the stands.
Yeah.
Right? After the game, seeing all my teammates go to their parents, their dads. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
My mom and my stepdad, they came to a few games, but they couldn't travel. Financially, they couldn't do it. My dad worked graveyards. They all probably would have been able to do it because they all probably put in on something to be able to get a rental car and drive.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. He didn't get opportunities to see me play professional football. He did. I felt like I missed out on a whole lot. Don't get me wrong. God kept his promise, and he sent examples, and he sent support system, and I appreciate every one of them.
Yeah.
It's one thing to never have a father, but it's another thing to have one, and then that person be like taken away.
Yeah.
Not because they decided to go, but because somebody decided to take his life. So.
And it was sudden.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was super. Yeah, unexpected.
Do you think he expected it?
My dad?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I do believe that he got saved, because for a long time, the last 2 years of his life, he started to change. He started to do better. And I'm not saying he was doing bad. I'm not saying he was doing the best he could, but he started to do better. He just started to do better. His attitude was different, and I didn't know what it was until I came to his house one day, and like I said, I saw this baby blue Bible on the corner of his coffee table where he sits. My dad never had a Bible before. I'm not saying he never had a Bible, but it was never there before this time. And so, man, I wish I would have got it, right? I didn't even pick it up. That was like the furthest thing from my mind when I was dealing with that, but I wish I would have picked it up to keep it. Mm-hmm. But he used to put, back in the day, people used to put the bills in the Bible, like to be a bookmark or whatever, like the envelopes. And so he had he had an envelope in the Bible, and he was like halfway through it.
So you talked about a part of the destruction was not just for you guys as his children, but also for your mom. Mm. How was that growing up, losing a father physically, but also losing your mom to depression?
It was rough. It was rough. I just remember her like calling me, waking me, like I go to sleep, get ready for school in the morning, and she would like be playing R&B or oldies, sipping, and she would just be in her thoughts, in her mind, and she would like talk about my dad, talk about what the lady took, and I just, at first it was hard because I was super tired, but God has created us to adapt to some amazing things. So I got to the point to where I could say, yeah, I know, and still be asleep, to get all my rest to wake up perfectly in the morning. It's wild to me now that I think about it. It was tough because my brother, shortly after that, I say shortly, but I think after my sophomore year in high school, he left. He moved to, or was it no, it was my junior year. Excuse me, it was my junior year, because he was a 1 year ahead of me in school. He left and went to Oregon. So I became the oldest boy in the house.
Yeah.
And so it just it was tough because I had to do what my brother normally would do and still do what I needed to do.
So you took on a lot more
Yeah,
responsibility.
yeah, quick, quickly, unexpectedly.
Mhm.
The greatest thing though was that was like my sophomore year in high school is when your mom, Pastor I, became my math teacher,
Mhm.
algebra 1. Yeah, it changed the game for me.
So you've talked about that before, but with you having to take on more responsibility, was there ever a point where you started to feel like the parent?
No, not initially. No, more of like the assistant in the beginning, just to remind my mom of certain stuff, and then I was able to make more adult decisions based on didn't matter if she needed to be there or not. Um, some stuff wasn't as important to me, so she didn't know about it. Cause some stuff she just, and then when I did told her some stuff, she would show up for like the major events, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the smaller ones if I did tell her, I didn't harp on it enough for her to make it important to her, cause she was still dealing with a lot. Cause in the midst of all of that, her mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so that was her best friend. So it was so much,
So she took a lot of hits.
a lot, absolutely.
She, at what point, because you said you didn't feel that way at first, and you kind of emphasized at first,
Yeah.
did you start to feel that way eventually?
Yeah, I did. Once I guess by my junior years, I guess no, my senior year. Um, my senior year was when I started to notice that she just wasn't as sharp as she used to be because of all of the depression and all of the grief and all of the things that she was trying to juggle in her head, dealing with my dad and then her mom, trying to talk to her mom, call her and ask her mom does she remember stuff. So and then making sure that we got to school, making sure that we really had a village to take on a lot of stuff, which a lot of people don't have that now, and it's sad because that village was amazing. It really helped us through a lot of stuff. Like there was certain stuff that she didn't wasn't able to help me to do because she was so wrapped up in her own grief and grieving and stuff. And so like to fill out my FAFSA, she didn't help me. I just said, Mom, I need this, and this, and she gave it to me. And then I went to Miss Hudson, that was the secretary for the basketball. She helped me fill out my FAFSA. Your mom helped me apply for some scholarships from Dr. Newkirk. God rest her soul. Rest in peace, Dr. Newkirk. She was an amazing counselor. And then Mrs. Zahidi took over. It was just a lot of people. It's so many people. If I get to naming names, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, but like the major people, you know, that stepped in, man, they were just amazing. Like they know who they are. Coach Woodbury, Coach Floyd, like Coach Lawrence.
A lot, a
It's
lot,
like
a
it's a
lot of
lot. It's a
people.
lot of people. It's
Yeah.
a lot of people. Coach McNeil. Coach McNeil was the one who took me to South Alabama to get a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's so many people. It's so many people. So if I get to naming names, it's
You'll
gonna.
be here all day.
I'm gonna forget some people.
Yeah.
And charge it to my head and not my heart.
So you said you ended up going to South Alabama. Tell us how you kind of pivoted to start triumphing in the middle of your tragedy, and like what it took to begin to succeed.
Um, and my dad's funeral when I was 13, I made a promise to him in the casket that I promised to make it to the NFL, and when I get there, I take a knee and say I made it. So that was the moment where I decided, regardless of what happens to me, I will succeed. Because at the time when he died, 77% of black boys go to jail when they don't have a father in the home. I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't. So that was my goal, not to be a statistic.
So you went to South.
Mm-hmm.
And
Go ahead.
and then what?
So well, I had to talk about how I got to South. Like,
Okay.
so I had got a phone call. It's my junior year, going into my senior year. I got a phone call from a referee that watched me play from like elementary all the way up, and he was like, "You need to go to South Alabama. They got a camp." And I was like, "Who? Where is that?" It was like, "Oh, it's in Mobile. It's about 68 miles. I would take you, but I got a family trip vacation that I gotta take my family on, so I can't take you." And then I was like, "Okay, I don't have no ride. Like, my mama car ain't gonna make it. The tires are like ball. Like, the metal is showing out the tire. I don't even know how we still driving."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, ask Coach McNeil. He'll take you." And I was like, "Duh." Like, and so I call Coach McNeil and I tell him about the camp that the referee told me about. And he said, "Well, let me call somebody to find out." And so he called one of the coaches that he knew. And he just so happened that he was the offensive coordinator at South. And I'm not saying their names on purpose, but he was like, and so Coach McNeil called me back and he was like, "Yeah, it's a camp." And he was like, "Can you go?" And I was like, "Well, can you take me? Because my mama ain't gonna be able to take me." And he was like, "I clear my schedule tomorrow." This was a Friday. Camp was on a Saturday. He found out all the logistics or whatever. And I looked up at the camp, and it was a real thing online. It was $10 to go to do the camp.
Okay, $10.
$10, yeah. Back then, camps is not that much now.
No.
And so it was a 1-day camp, and so my mama had gave me $10 for a haircut. I was nappy for the rest of the week because I paid that $10 and I invested into my future. So I tell people a lot.
Best $10 you ever spent.
Right. So Coach McNeil picks me up at 8:00 Saturday morning. We drive over to Mobile, and he told me these things. He told me this phrase that he always says. He says, "Do what you have been coached to do." And then he used to put a little spice on it. "Don't embarrass me." Right. So. Okay. I meet the OC, and the OC says, "Brian, what's up, man?" I was like, "How you doing, Coach?" He said, "Coach McNeil." He said, "Howard tells me you can play." I said, "I can hold my own." He said, "But can you play?" And I said, "I can hold my own." He said, "Oh, okay, we gonna see." So I went to register, paid my $10, and I'm running routes. Everything's good, and then it comes like to the last part of the camp, right? Like, so this was like the best part of the camp because we were doing one-on-ones. All the coaches was right there watching. So if you were gonna do something in any part of the camp, this was the time to do it. So we are in the midst of running routes, and the OC's like, "Brian, go here, go outside, go inside." He's looking at me running everywhere across the field. So I told him I could play all the positions because I was not finna let anyone stop me from possibly getting a scholarship so I can go to school for free.
Yeah.
And so then he says, the head coach, Joey Jones, at the time, he said, "Hey, coaches, pick one player. We're gonna do one-on-ones. Pick one player. Who you gonna go with?" The OC picks me, and he says, "Brian, what route you want to run?" Post corner, 7-3. It's my favorite route. Probably my best route I ran at the time. And so they was like, "All right." So I think like 2 people go in front of us, right? Then it's my turn. And so then the OC pulls me aside. He says, "Hey, Brian, you they already offered him the defensive back you're going against. He like the 33rd best defensive back in the state of Louisiana." And I was like, okay. Like in my mind, I was like, cuz ain't seen me yet though, you know. So I line up and I see how he playing. Nice narrow stance. He was good. I gotta do an in-out-in release. Do my release, stick to the post, he jump it. I break out. Quarterback threw the ball. I gotta dive for it. I dive, catch the ball, shut the cam down. Like that was the last rep. Okay. So then Coach Jones gives the the final speeches and stuff like that. The OC says, "Brian, meet me at the 50." Okay. Go to the 50. He was like, "Coach, on behalf of University of South Alabama and Coach Jones and I, we'd like to offer you a full athletic scholarship." I almost passed out. Like
on the spot.
Like that was like I almost passed, but I was like, all I could think about in my head was keep my composure, because that's what Coach McNeil would preach. Like, keep your composure, act like you've been there before, even if you haven't. And so that's what I did. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving the field. Coach McNeil like, "What happened?" I said, "Let's go to the car." Yeah. Let's go to the car. So I told him in the car, like, they offered me a scholarship. And he was like, "This changes the game. Now you have leverage. So if any other school comes to you and they don't offer the same thing, you could tell them no." Mm-hmm. I was like, "What?" And then that's when he told me like a whole bunch of other stuff, So I end up, my receiver coach at the time, like that I met, was Damian Craig. And he called me and he was like, "Brian, we gonna gray shirt you." I said, "What? What is that?" And so he was like, "Well, it's like you signed with the 09 class, but you come in with the next class." I was like, "No, sir. Mm-mm. Is there some way I can show you that I need to be there now?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, you can come in the summer for the summer session, but if ain't no guarantee, that it'll get pulled up." I said, "I'm coming. When I got to be there? May 26th? I graduated May 20th. Mm-hmm. I was at South Alabama 6 days later.
Yeah.
Not knowing that they could have pulled my scholarship. They could have said, "Oh, we don't want him." If
you had let them gray shirt you, they could have pulled your scholarship?
Yeah, because, I had signed my letter of intent, right? And of course, when you sign your letter of intent, you have 1 year.
Yeah.
But based off the summer, right? Although I signed my letter of intent and I would have went for that 1 year, they could have cut me though.
Yeah. Like
they could have cut me if I didn't show progress or, produce, if I didn't get bigger, faster, stronger, if I didn't show any promise, they could have let you go. Like I signed a scholarship with 30 people. I graduated with 8.
Yeah.
It's cutthroat. People don't talk about that though.
They don't talk about that. So did you ever end up making it to the NFL? The promise that you made?
No. I got close though. I remember on my pro day, I knew I was going to run a low 4.4. Coach Jones comes to me and he says, "What you going to run in the 40, Brian?" And I was like, "I'm running 4.4. And he was like, 4.49? I was like, "Nah, I'm going to run faster than that." He was like, 4.48? I was like, "I'll run faster than that too." Because in my mind, I had trained for this.
Yeah.
My strength coaches, Jerry Parsh, Joey Sharon, Justin Swin. So it's a lot. I can't remember the other ones, but those were like the main ones that I started with. They made sure that we were straight. Like we didn't have to go off and go train because they made sure we were straight. Man, our laser was messed up, and so we had to do hand time. So I ran a 4.37 and a 4.40 hand time. They calculated to a 4.45, and I went from, there was 330 receivers in my class. I went from 300 to 129 after my pro day. The Seattle Seahawks asked about my film after my pro day. Behind him, I saw the Miami Dolphins and the Colts taking notes. A week before the draft, the Miami Dolphins called me to verify some stuff and say, "Hey, we just want to let you know you're on our board." good luck on draft day. In my mind, I was going to Miami.
Yeah.
I was out. Just so happened that was my mama's favorite team. She still has a dolphin necklace that she wears. I was like, oh, this finna be lit.
Yeah.
I tried to sign with an agent, and right before I was about to sign and send my paperwork up, the agent's like, yeah, you need to try to see if you can get a workout because the teams don't know you. We can't sign you. And I was like, that's what I'm trying to get you for. Like, how you gonna drop me before I even officially get with you? So, I ended up taking a break from football, and I had made a promise to God when I was in school that I would write my first book when I got a break, thinking I would never get a break. I got a break, and I published my first book, Mind Under Pigskin, and it did really well.
And now you got how many books?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Just because of that break. Now imagine if you had told the Lord, I'm gonna just write a book in general, not when I get a break, but I'm gonna just go ahead and write it. Do you think you'd went further?
I'm actually currently writing a 6th one.
Yeah.
But maybe I would have got started earlier. The only reason why I didn't start earlier is because back then, it was against NCAA rules for me to use my real name because they didn't want boosters just to give me money through buying my books.
It's completely different now.
Completely different now, right? And so instead of using a pen name, I was like, I'm gonna use my real name. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
So that's
until
what I
you get
did.
a break. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I actually ended up going to. I went to a free agent combine, and I got a look from the AFL, the Arena Football League, and I got to go into camp with the Tampa Bay Storm.
Now, you did all of this based on your promise to your dad. Do you think that's the only reason that you continued with that? Do you think if he was still alive that you would have possibly done something different?
Oh, I believe that if he was alive, I probably would have signed with an agent, and I probably would have got on the NFL team.
Okay.
Just because he was going to be at all the games, like he was going to be able to navigate that. He was going to be right there.
So a support system definitely would have.
Yeah,
made
like
a
not saying
difference.
I didn't have it, but like he would have been engulfed like thoroughly. Like my mom was just like, she was the cheerleader and he was the coach, so he would have coached me through that, navigating the agent stuff. Coach McNeil did a phenomenal job in helping me and taking me to every camp I went to. I did well because of Coach McNeil. Like he was there, and so like in that instance, he was my father taking that place. But when it came to like agents and all that stuff, I talked to him about it, and he told me what he knew, but I didn't like. I don't know. I just still felt like there was something missing.
You didn't have somebody that was specific for you in your corner.
Yeah, like I mean,
That wasn't like stretched between other players
or I guess what I'm saying. I didn't have my dad.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean that was it. It's just my dad. Like not saying Coach McNeil was not for me. He is still for me. Like that's my guy. But he had other responsibilities.
Right.
You know, I wasn't quote unquote his responsibility. He did what he was supposed to do, what God called him to do to help me.
Right.
My dad, in essence, like I was my dad's responsibility, right? And so that's why the village came and it lightened the burden of the responsibilities that was taken away when my dad was murdered. And so that's how I feel about that.
So at the place that you're at now, because now you're a personal trainer and you have other responsibilities. You're now married and gonna be a dad one day. What's one like major lesson that you've learned or that you would share with other people that you kind of learned through this process of losing a parent so early on?
Don't have pride in the rules.
Explain it a little bit more.
So don't have like a sense of entitlement because you follow the rules. Because you can follow the rules and it still don't work.
Okay.
Don't put God in a box. Don't expect God to do X, Y, and Z just because you did the same thing that another person did, because everybody's journey to what God is calling you to do is different. It's not a cookie cutter. There's principles that you can pull, but your specific journey, your specific walk, and how you're supposed to lead people into the kingdom is going to be different.
Yeah.
It's not going to look like theirs. And that was the way that I had to go. I think what Allen Iverson said, I went through what I went through because God said go through it. That's how I feel.
Yeah. You think it made you a better person?
Absolutely. It allowed me to connect with people. It allowed me to inspire, to be inspired, and to inspire people. If my dad was alive, I would not be this man that people see right now.
Yeah.
I would be arrogant. Yeah, completely arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, mean, probably. A whole lot of stuff. Don't know if I'd be a Christian.
If we're being honest.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Yeah. It was necessary to become
painful, but necessary.
To become who I needed to become.
Yeah.
For the people that I'm supposed to reach.
Okay. Well, we are at our time. Hey. I want to close out and pray for you, but also pray for other people who have lost a parent.
Let's do it.
You ready? Father, I thank you so much for who you are. We thank you that you are omniscient, which means that you are all-knowing. You see us, you know us, you know our personalities, and you know our strengths and our weaknesses. And Father, I pray even over Bryant now, as he in the future will step into the role of a father. I pray that you would heal anything in him that may have still been broken because of the loss of his father. I pray that you would heal anything in him that may have been broken because of even the loss of his mother due to depression. I pray, Father, that you would strengthen his marriage and that nothing from his past will be a hindrance from them being on one accord. And I pray, Father, for every person that's watching this that has also lost a parent, would you begin to heal them from the inside out? Don't allow them to keep up their guards. Don't allow them to be fearful of getting close to people or allowing people to truly see them and help them to heal. But Father, I pray that you would surround them with community that will uplift them, that will pour into them, and that will be there for them. We just thank you for it all now. And it's in the mighty name of Jesus Christ that we do pray.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for joining.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. You've heard from us. Now we want to hear from you. I do prayer videos every single day. Comment your name and what you want me to pray for below. And follow me on any social platform at I'm Aisha Danielle so that you'll be able to see when your prayer video gets posted. Until next time, see you later.